Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before we go anywhere tonight, I want you to sit with one question. Have you ever felt a woman wanting something from you that she would never, ever admit out loud? That quiet tension, that strange pull, that moment where her eyes linger a second too long, and you know something is happening beneath the surface, but you can't name it. That feeling isn't random. It's not accidental. It's the doorway into the hidden psychology of desire. And once you understand it, you'll never look at women or yourself the same way again. If you're ready to go deeper into the truths most men never hear, make sure you subscribe and like this video right now, because what I'm about to reveal is not the kind of thing people openly teach. Let me talk to you directly, man to mind, because you deserve clarity. Most men are confused not because they're doing something wrong, but because they've been conditioned to ignore the signals that actually matter. Women rarely speak their deepest desires, not because they want to deceive you, but because their attraction system was shaped by instinct long before language even existed. And some of the things that genuinely turn women on, emotionally, psychologically, energetically, feel wrong to admit. So they hide them. They bury them beneath polite behavior and social rules, hoping you might naturally understand without them having to say a single word. But here's the truth. Women feel long before they think. And when a man behaves in ways that tap into those deep, wordless instincts, something happens inside her she can't fully explain. A warmth, a pull, a sudden softness, a desire that feels almost involuntary. You've seen it, even if you didn't know what you were seeing. The shift in her voice, the way she stands closer, the way she waits for you to move first, even though she could easily take the lead. These are not accidents. These are the hidden rules of desire that most men were never taught. So tonight, I'm pulling back the curtain, not to expose women, not to manipulate them, but to help you understand the psychology that actually makes relationships work. Because when you understand what a woman secretly wants but won't admit, you stop chasing and you start leading. You stop doubting yourself and you start becoming the man she can't stop thinking about. Now, let's get brutally honest. The first thing most men completely miss is how much women crave a man who takes control in subtle, intelligent ways. I'm not talking about aggression or dominance for the sake of power. No, that's cheap and obvious. I'm talking about a man who quietly decides, who sets boundaries, who moves with purpose, and who doesn't need permission to lead. Women are wired to notice these signals at the neurological level. When you hesitate, when you over-explain, when you're constantly seeking approval, her brain registers it as uncertainty. And uncertainty kills desire faster than anything else. Here's the dirty secret. Women want you to know what she wants before she even knows herself. That's why she flirts, she teases, she tests. She's not playing games. Her subconscious is evaluating whether you are a man capable of reading her signals, anticipating her needs, and handling the intensity of her emotions without flinching. When you do this, when you move first, when you act with quiet confidence, you trigger a primal sense of safety and excitement at the same time. It's like a spark in her system she can't articulate, but she feels it deep in her body, in her core. And here's something even fewer men understand. Women secretly crave intensity. Not just romantic gestures, but emotional intensity. They want you to stir something in them that feels dangerously alive. That's why small, seemingly inconsequential actions, like a deliberate touch on the shoulder, a knowing glance, a low, confident tone, can ignite desire more than hours of generic conversation. It's the contrast between calm control and unpredictable energy that hooks her brain. When you master this, you're not just another man she notices. You become a stimulus she can't ignore. But there's a catch. Most men are terrified of crossing invisible lines. They're afraid of being too bold, too honest, too themselves. And that fear shows in micro-expressions, in hesitation, in a lack of decisiveness. Women detect it instantly. Your nervous energy cancels out any attraction your words might create. So the first lesson in understanding these dirty desires isn't about tactics. It's about self-possession. It's about being so grounded in your own mind, your own body, your own choices, that she feels the magnetic pull before she even speaks. Once you grasp this, everything changes. You're no longer guessing. You're no longer hoping she likes you. You move through interactions with an authority that feels natural, irresistible, and completely aligned with who you are. And when she senses this, the attraction flips from casual curiosity to deep, almost uncontrollable desire. Here's something that almost no man truly understands. Women crave emotional courage more than physical touch. They want a man who isn't afraid to go into the uncomfortable, messy, real spaces of emotion. And not just his own, but hers. Think about it. How many men shy away from conflict, from vulnerability, from the raw edges of honesty? Most. And that's exactly why a woman is secretly drawn to a man who can handle her intensity without shutting down. When you meet her emotional storms with calm, steady presence, something primal clicks in her brain. It's like a key turning in a lock that's been sealed since childhood. But here's the thing. This doesn't mean she wants you to solve her problems. That's the trap almost every man falls into. She doesn't need advice. She doesn't need reassurance. She needs someone who can feel alongside her without being consumed or collapsing. She wants a man whose inner stability is unshakable, whose mind is sharp, whose boundaries are clear, and whose heart is wide open enough to let her rage, her laughter, her desire, and her fears exist without judgment. This is where the real attraction lives, in the invisible tension between intensity and calm. And now, let's get even more forbidden. Women secretly love unpredictability that comes from authenticity. That's why rehearsed charm and routine compliments rarely spark deep desire. They want someone who acts from conviction, who occasionally surprises her, who makes decisions that reflect his principles, not social scripts. The tension between certainty and surprise is electrifying. It triggers her subconscious in ways polite conversation cannot. When a man knows himself, honors his desires, and expresses them without apology, she feels a pull that's magnetic, unavoidable, and yes, sexually charged in ways she might never admit out loud. Here's a tip most men overlook. Subtle tension in interactions creates fascination. A pause in the right moment, a lingering gaze, a hint of mystery in your words, all of these play on her subconscious wiring. She doesn't consciously understand why she's drawn in, but her body and mind are screaming for more. This is the dirty attraction most men can't see because they're focused on surface-level indicators, laughs, smiles, small talk, while the real engine is beneath, in the psychological and emotional currents they fail to navigate. When you start mastering these currents, you stop being another option or a casual connection. You become a presence, a force, someone whose attention, energy, and choice feel like gravity itself. And when that happens, she not only notices, she obsesses, because desire is never logical. It's felt, lived, and experienced at the deepest level. Let's talk about something men almost never see coming. Women crave risk, but only the right kind of risk. Not reckless danger, not empty bravado, not showing off with no purpose. I'm talking about controlled, deliberate, calculated risk. The kind that signals to her subconscious that you are powerful, confident, and in full command of yourself. When you take these kinds of risks, whether in conversation, in decisions, or even in small gestures, her mind registers it as proof that you're a man capable of intensity, excitement, and unpredictability, all qualities that fuel desire at a level words can't touch. And here's the twist most men fail to understand. She doesn't consciously want to admit it because society tells her it's improper or even unsafe to enjoy the thrill of being drawn to a man who radiates this energy. But the truth is, her body, her subconscious, and her emotional wiring crave it. When you act decisively, when you make choices that matter without hesitation, when you step into the tension instead of running from it, she feels an attraction that goes beyond physicality. It's almost chemical. Her dopamine spikes, her heart rate rises, and her attention locks on you, often before she can name the reason herself. This is why most men fail. They stay comfortable. They avoid intensity. They seek to please, to conform, to predict, to stay in the safe zone of interaction. And when they do, she feels nothing, or worse, she feels bored. Women aren't drawn to mediocrity, no matter how polite or convenient. She wants you to be the man who can carry the weight of desire, who can tolerate tension, and who doesn't flinch when things get emotionally, psychologically, or even subtly physically charged. That's what makes a man unforgettable. That's what creates obsession. Here's another layer almost no one talks about. Women crave subtle challenges. They want to test your boundaries, not to manipulate, but to feel your strength. She's watching how you react to discomfort, how you handle rejection, how you assert yourself without aggression. Every micro reaction, every glance, every tone of voice is a test of your presence. And the truth is, men rarely pass it. Most crumble under the pressure, over-explaining, overcompensating, or retreating. But when you stand firm, when your center doesn't wobble, she feels a magnetic pull that's impossible to resist. Finally, let's be real. Women want a man who can create a world of emotional intensity while maintaining absolute control. It's the juxtaposition that drives desire, the storm and the anchor together. When you embody this balance, when you act from authenticity and confidence, you stop being just another guy in her orbit. You become the axis of her focus, the one she thinks about in quiet moments, the one whose presence she craves even when she refuses to admit it. Now, let's explore something almost every man completely misreads. Women secretly crave dominance in intimacy, but not the crude, obvious kind you see in movies. I'm talking about psychological dominance, the ability to lead, guide, and take responsibility for the emotional and physical space between you. She doesn't want to surrender because she's weak. She wants to surrender because she senses your strength, your control, and your awareness. And when a man demonstrates this correctly, she feels an almost magnetic pull, a mixture of comfort, thrill, and subconscious excitement she can't explain. The trick is subtlety. Women are not wired to respond to obvious power grabs or brute force. They respond to intelligent, emotionally attuned leadership. This means reading her cues, understanding her desires before she articulates them, and holding your own boundaries while staying attuned to hers. When done right, every glance, touch, and word carries weight. It creates tension, anticipation, and desire that's deeply felt, not just superficially noticed. She may smile or laugh, but underneath her mind is calculating, her body is reacting, and her subconscious is filing away your dominance as the type of man she can't forget. Here's the psychological truth most men never realize. Women secretly crave moments of controlled surrender. It doesn't mean she's weak. It means she trusts you, feels safe, and experiences desire more intensely than she would with a man who plays it safe or remains neutral. Your role isn't to overpower. It's to anchor the intensity, to hold her in a space where attraction and curiosity collide. When you do this consistently, she begins to associate your presence with emotional elevation, a feeling that's addictive, irresistible, and deeply memorable. And now the part most men fail to see. Women want you to be unpredictable in small ways while consistent in your core. The juxtaposition between stability and surprise activates her subconscious attention, keeping her engaged, intrigued, and thinking about you when you're not there. You don't need games. You don't need manipulation. You need presence and confidence, combined with an intuitive understanding of her hidden desires. The final piece is almost intoxicating in its effect. Women crave men who can trigger desire without words. A lingering touch, a meaningful glance, a confident tone, or even a subtle movement in your body can communicate more than any conversation ever could. This is the essence of attraction she can't articulate, but feels in every nerve ending. When you learn this, when you embody this, you stop being just another guy in her orbit. You become the man who captures her attention, her thoughts, and her desire, even before she admits it to herself. Now, let's reveal the final truth most men never hear. Women crave a man who creates emotional and physical tension that feels inevitable. This isn't about being pushy, manipulative, or forceful. It's about embodying presence, confidence, and an unspoken understanding of desire. She senses it in the way you carry yourself, in the way your voice holds authority, in the subtlety of your touch and timing. When a man can generate this energy naturally, without words, she feels a pull that's magnetic, almost uncontrollable, and deeply addictive. Here's what almost no man realizes. Women are neurologically wired to respond to energy patterns more than logic. She doesn't consciously process everything you say or do. She feels it. The lingering glance, the steady confidence, the ability to make choices while remaining attuned to her subtle reactions. These things light up her brain's reward centers. She experiences arousal, anticipation, and curiosity all at once, and it feels like electricity. And because most men operate on surface-level interactions, small talk, jokes, polite gestures, she rarely encounters someone who can trigger this deep, wordless response. When you do, you become unforgettable. And here's the psychological edge. Women secretly desire authenticity in these moments. It's not about pretending to be dominant, mysterious, or confident. It's about being so connected to yourself that those qualities naturally flow through you. When your internal state is stable, your energy clear, and your choices intentional, she senses it immediately. This is the invisible language of attraction, a language she feels in her body long before she tries to explain it to her mind. Most men never learn it because they focus on external tactics rather than internal mastery. Finally, understand this. Women crave a man who can handle intensity, create desire, and remain grounded all at once. She wants a man who can navigate the tension between control and unpredictability, between calm and energy, between safety and exhilaration. When you master this balance, her attraction shifts from casual interest to obsession, because she experiences you as someone who isn't just physically present, but emotionally, mentally, and psychologically magnetic. So remember this. What women secretly want isn't manipulative gestures, flashy lines, or over-the-top efforts. They want a man who understands the invisible currents of desire, who can generate tension with subtlety, who leads without force, and who remains unapologetically himself. When you embody this, you stop chasing and start being the man she can't forget, the one who dominates her attention, fuels her desire, and lingers in her mind long after you're gone. This is the power of understanding female psychology at its deepest level. And now that you know it, nothing between you and the women you desire will ever feel ordinary again.